Hello. Yeah, good evening.
Okay. We start Mishnah today.
Again?
Just 1 second. 1 second.
Yeah.
We got Sadi with Sadi Vav, right?
Tzadik, hey, we're at the very bottom.
Yeah, the Mishnah. We're starting the Mishnah here.
Yeah.
So it's interesting now because it says here, let's see here. Okay, yeah. So if a win here, let's see. So Amana Nichos Nizonenes Nichse Yisomin. A widow gets from the property of the orphans, whatever the orphans inherit, or the Yorshim, the wife of the man who died, they have to support her. Maisa Yodea Shalah, but her earnings go to the kids who support her. But if she dies, they're not responsible to pay for her burial. But Yoresha Yorshim Besoch Basar, but her heirs have to pay for her kavura. So actually, she is like a stepmother to the Yisomim.
Right, but her own kids have to take care of
kids. Right, her own kids have to pay. So, for this, you see that she's a stepmother. Okay, Iboilu Nizones Tanan. Says the mission that's supported by the property of the orphans. Oh, and Nizones Tanan, or a widow who's supported for the property of the orphans, their earnings belong to them. So, what is Nizones Tanan? Kanche Gola, like they do it in Galil, below Sogi de lo Yaveles. It is not possible that the orphans not give her. Is it not possible that they don't give her? In other words, are they that bad that they don't? Of course, they give her. Oh, Dilma and his own is non, or widow supported from the property of the orphans, her earnings belong to them. Kanche Yehuda, so they evidently have different minhagim from Galil and then the people of Yehuda. The boy lo yavle, and if they desire, they don't have to give it to her from Yehuda, from Sheva, and the Yehuda. I guess the place Yehuda, Sheva Yehuda. So we're now in the Sadi Vav Amar Aleph Toshma.
Yeah.
Amar Abzer Amar Shmuel Betzias Almona Leatzmo. So according to him, the whatever she finds belongs to her. So in other words, they don't get the Yisomim don't get her, even though they feed her, they don't get her findings. Now it's if you say that we have said the Mishnah, widow who is supported, for according to this version, the heirs are not obligated to support her. Shapir, according to Shmuel, this is what he said. For he could be speaking of where the heirs declined to provide for the widow and thereby forfeited the rights to her fines. But if we say that a widow is supported according to the heirs, heirs may not terminate support. They have a cabal. The heir should be treated like the husband, and according to all the privileges, we should say that my baal is just a case of a husband. She gets all his wife's findings. So Hanami Mitziyasi show here too. In the case of the heirs, a widow woman gets the heirs get, just like the father gets the findings of the woman, whether she finds something or she works. So the kids also get it if they support it for. In truth, I can tell you that the widow is supported. Nevertheless, they do not require the widow's findings to go to the children. Time on my omer abodim mitziyasi shalabalo. What is the reason? So he says, "Delo teheve le'eva." So why does a woman have to give her husband all her findings in which he works for it? So her husband will be nice to her. That's why she has to give it. But realistically, she doesn't. But she wants her husband to be nice to her. But honey, to have a luleva. But who cares about the heirs with a nice one? They have to support her. One way or the other, they have to support her with a Yerusha, with husband's money. She could care less whether they Ava or not. Anything that a woman has to give to her husband, she has to do. That's according to Rabbi Yosef Bachanina, except Mziga Sakos, mixing his cup of wine, but Samita, making his bed, but wash his face and hands. So those days, but everything else she has to do for the children. And we're probably talking about adult children, maybe not necessarily. No, I don't know about that. Maybe adult children, yeah. Over Yeshua Levi, call malachas she'evet osel rabba. Anything that a slave performs for his rabbo, tamid osel rabba. A disciple has to perform for his master. Torah slow, except for untying the sandals. So he's going to explain what that means by tying the sandals, tying his shoe, in other words. So we don't recognize the Eved or whoever's doing it. So when they recognize him, Leslie, we're not afraid that he does it, because as he says, if somebody's tying the Rebbe's shoes, so you don't think that he's a Jewish person, he's a goy, and therefore they would be questioning whether they don't want to have a shidduch with him. But if they recognize him, then it's okay to tie your Rebbe's shoes, because if we're not bichoshed, then it's going to look bad upon him. He ties his Rebbe's shoes. Yeah. So we don't recognize him. That's only you can't. You don't let him tie the shoes only if he's not wearing tefillin. I mean, if he's not tefillin, if he's wearing tefillin, then of course we know he's Jewish. So whoever prevents his disciples from attending to him, regarded as if he holds him a kindness. By one who holds kindness for his fellow, Rav Nachman Yosef says, he also casts them out from the disciple for the fear of heaven. So you have to let someone do a mitzvah. If you deny from doing a mitzvah, so you're not giving him the ability to do a mitzvah. Now we return to the subject of what have the support that Almana gets. Amar Abelazar, Almana Shetafsa Bel Matin. Let's say she grabbed the property of the Yisomim. So the Morris Abelazar says, Masha Tafsa Tafsa. She can keep it. So Morris Satana Namechachi, Almana Shetafsa Bel Matin Kuzosel. In the case of a widow who grabbed the property of Betaltalin, Maisha Tafsa Tafsa, what she has seized, because what do we know? Where does usually a mother get her ksuba from? She gets it from the karka, but here we see
from property, from land.
Yeah, from land. But mazonos, we can get. She can take it from a taltalin.
Right.
So Bechenoy Yossi Omar, Ma'isa B'Kalasosha B'Shifta, the daughter-in-law of Shamsi, Shetafsa the Saki Malaya, she sized a sack full of money for payment. And the Chachamim didn't have enough power to take it away from her, so she kept it, even though it was metaltalin. So Abelazar said, Omar Ravina, this is only for compensation for support for the everyday, compensation for everyday living. Avul ksuba, but for ksuba, if she can grab them, we do accept, because we do take it away from her, because she's only allowed to get her ksuba from, like we said, from karka, and not from metaltalin. So masculine bar baravashi, my so what's so unique about a ksuba that she can only get it from about if she sees move metaltalin that we take it away from her, because the kakoi lo mimatalia, because she has a right to collect real property and not for movables. Mizonos nami. So with respect to support, she can take it from mimakarka below mimatalin. She has a right to collect for real property and not for movable. That's against what we just said. Wait a minute. Isn't because the right to collect for property not for movable? There's no summary. She should be able to accept. Oh, so we should say the same thing by Mizonas. Why then should be a difference between the two cases, not allow her to retain movables?
Yeah, also take from land.
Yeah, also. Yeah. El Mizone, rather we must say that when she seizes movables for her support, my shit's off so tough. So if she took it from a talcum, she can keep it. So too, when she takes the ksuba from him, she has to keep it. She may keep it. So Ravina ruled this. Ravina's ruling is confirmed. I'm Rav Yitzchak ben Avtol Ravina. Like you have stated, the woman may retain movable size for support, but not for her ksubas award. So that looks like that's the final thing, that only, like we said before, that she only can take from her. She could take mazonas only from karka, from metaltlin, and she takes suba from karka. Another ruling concerning widow's right to sustenance. Almana shehoisa shtayim v'shlosh shanim. A woman who waited 2-3 years to claim her support, ibda mizon, she lost it. So, for example, it says here because she can't get anything retroactively. That's number one, and also since she waited for so long, we assume she waived her support rights. When she asked them for compensation for the past 2 years, her demand is disregarded for. We say now regrets her. Now that she regrets her disregard, her demand is disregarded. For we say that now that she gets, she cannot legally overturn the waiver. That if she supported us by borrowing, or if she took the money from the Security for Orphans, the obligation remains intact. So let's say she supported herself on her own, then that's what it's talking about. Then she loses everything. But if she had to borrow money, to support herself, then she gets, they go back to the Yisomim and they take money because otherwise she couldn't have, but she had to borrow money, so they have to use that money to pay back the creditors. So that only applies what we just said about if he hasn't taken for 2-3 years. So I think we learned in the past, you both of us learned that when, let's say a man goes overseas and he dies and there's no money, she has no money, so they take from whatever property the man has, and then at the end of it, when they find out that he actually died or he comes back, he has to pay back the creditors because he's responsible to support her. And if he did die, then it's rightly hers. So that's why we learned something similar for us. Let's see. Nitnu Isobim says Isobim Omrim Sanunu. We gave it already. In other words, let's say she comes and claims that she wants money for support. Someone saying we gave it to her. Who am I load this mother? I didn't get it. So who has to bring the proofs? Who's Yad al Tachtona and Yad al Yona? Who's got more say in the matter? So the Gemara says, does the deceased husband property stand in the possession of the orphans? Well, and it's incumbent upon the widow to bring to prove the proof. Or maybe so maybe as soon as the husband dies, it goes in the hands of the widow, and then the orphans get it afterwards. So who does it go for first? So it makes a difference of who has to swear. So Toshma, Tanya, Amana Kozman Shalonita, so long as she's not remarried, they have to bring the proof that they gave it to her. They paid her already for it. Avanisa said once he remarries, so it's her responsibility. She has to prove that she did get it, and that's very simple. If she married, then she has to bring the proof. If she didn't marry, then the Yisoma have to bring the proof. Mujeres Kosevis. A widow may sell her husband's estate and should write in the document, I sold this property, I've sold it to support myself. And if these properties I've sold for Ksuba, Rabbi Yehuda, and in other words, she has to specify what she sold it for. She has to give write a reason why she sold it, if it's either for Mizonos or for Ksuba.
So you don't need to designate.
No, they said they have to write what it's for, though. She says to say what it's for.
Okay.
For my support or for so maybe she doesn't have to say ahead of time, but when she does it, she has to say what it's for. If it was she sold it from Mizonos, and we'll see if it makes a difference. So Yossi Omar Mujeres or Koseva stuff. A widow may sell her husband's and should write the document of sale without specifying why she sold it. And that's a power. So in other words, machlokas. Yehuda says she has to specify what she sold it
yes, one says no.
And the other one says, Rabbi, and then Yossi says she doesn't have to say. It's her power.
Okay.
Her power is great. So Shiri Barashi, how this dispute resolved around the question which party regards the legal possessor of a deceased husband's estate. My love, in other words, so this would seem to imply that in a Yerusha, that it doesn't automatically go to the children. Machlokas, so if it goes through the wife first, even though the wife doesn't inherit the children, or if it goes directly to the Yisomim. In other words, as soon as the husband dies, it's in the hands of the Yisomim, right? But according to this Mandioma says that because to protect the wife, it goes through her hands first. She eventually has to get it and give it to the Yisomim. In other words, because it belongs to them.
Right.
But if it goes through her first, so it doesn't go directly to the Yisomim. We learned in the past it goes directly, but maybe eventually they get it. It's theirs. She doesn't inherit. All she gets is her Mizonos and her Ksuba. But maybe the reason why they want to say the reason why I say it goes to her first is because to protect herself. That's why. So it's easier for her to get it and then give it to the children than for her to go to the children, which are her stepchildren, and try to get it back for them. So, how many cases we know of that where the wife has to fight.
Go chase the money.
Yeah, go chase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. Now, what's the machlokas? Rabbi Yehuda Domar Boy La Perusha. She must specify. That's what we said. The Yehuda says she has to say who they're first. So he holds the property of the deceased goes right to the orphans. The halal and the widow has to bring proof of what it's for. Abiosi Sovar, low boy, she need not specify, and therefore it stands. The chazaka is in her hands. The Yisomim have to bring the raya. So it still does not take away from the fact that the Yisomim I don't think anybody argues that the soul eventually get it. That's theirs, rather, because we know that a wife.
Right. She just takes what's hers, and the rest goes to them.
Right. The Gemara rejects this interpretation and between Rabbi Yehuda and Yossi. What do you say that the dispute resolves around that question? Which party is regarded as the legal possessor? Everyone says it's in the Cheskes Amon, and those who, like Rabbi Yehuda says, that's by Yisomi every raya. Somebody have to bring a raya. In other words, that they if they claim they paid her already, they have to bring the raya that they pay her. Rabbi Yehuda ate Satova Kamash. Rabbi Yehuda is merely offering the widow good advice that she should record the document purpose for sale. Don't likri lo Rav Totoni, so that people wouldn't call her a voracious woman. I guess voracious is what? What would you? Voracious is
hungry. She's hungry for money.
Yeah. Right.
Money
okay,
hungry.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. She must be Hungarian, huh? Okay. I don't know. I guess all women that way. So do you look? Because if you don't say this, you don't take the boy Rabbi Yochanan. What Rabbi Yochanan says, whether the birth of prudent falls on the widow or the orphans. Tivshot le'li vasisa. Let's learn from the Mishnah, which states mocheres from the zona shalom and bezdin. The widow may sell her late husband's property for sport without consulting with the bezdin, because of the sale of the zonas becharte, and she should write for the sale. I sold the support, but really she doesn't have to. Only for Eitz Tova. So only for her own sake that she has to write. It's like if I work for somebody and I charge certain expenses, it's only it's for my benefit that I write what they're for, rather than come back and say, why did you charge this as expense? You don't know what they are, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so Eli Masni selected the Mashma today, but the Mishnah, we must say that Rabbi Yochanan did not answer because there's nothing regarding his query to reduce from the Mishnah. The Eitz Tova Kabasha. For we argue that if really the widow specified the purpose of the sale, the Mishnah is only merely offering a good advice. Eitz Tova Kabasha. Here too, it's a good advice, but it's not muchach. It's not. We can't force her to do it. She just, in order not to have a lot of problems, so she writes down. So alternatively, everybody says, both of Yehuda and Yossi, this, of course, this Mandi Omar, they both say that it's in the hands of the Yasmi, who goes directly to the Someh. Behind the time of Yossi, what's the reason of Yossi that she not specify her sale? Kirabai Lishisha, the Amari says, Washal Rabbi Yossi. He gives an analogy. Lama Dover is what's the matter? To what matter the widow who sells compare? L'shchiv Rasha Amar, who says to a person, Tanim Asayim Zuzla Poli Bacho, give $200 to this to my so my creditor, and the future heirs give the creditor 200 zuz. The law in this case is that Ratza Bechova Nota, the creditor wishes he can take the money as payment as debt. Ratza Matana Nota, and wishes if he can take the money as a gift. So there, and what is the difference? For the next page, we learn that in Sadi Zayin is even Matana Nota, and if the creditor takes it as a gift, Lokach Yafa Kocha. His power is not in this made this great, since he can still collect his debt from land that was sold. In the same vein, Rabbi Yossi says it is advantageous for the widow to leave the sales unspecified, since by doing so she can claim that they were for her sustenance, thus enabling her to collect her ksuma from land that has been sold. It's interesting thing. If a man says, "Give this shchivi, give this man $200," and then so he can always say, "I got it as a matana." But the debt that I gave you, the money that I owe you, is still
right.
It's still valid, right? I got a present from that person, but the debt that we had is still valid. But if he says I got it as in payment from, then he has no more reason to. Someone don't have to pay him again. Right. Same thing with Nisha, because the advice is that don't make any stipulations what it's for. Then you can always come and say, oh no, that was for my mazonos, and I still got to collect my suba. That's just what I said.
And they come back later.
Yeah, they come back.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So don't say. Yeah.
Don't
Keep your
say
mouth
anything.
closed.
Yeah.
Keep your mouth closed.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first one to speak loses.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
like in any negotiation. The first person to speak loses.
Right. Yeah. You know, it's like
No.
it's like I go to a guy and I say, how much you offered me? How much you want to pay for this? You know, I don't want to tell a price because, or maybe the other way, I buy something from, and so I never give an offer because I let it. Maybe the offer I'm going to give him is more than he wanted in the first place. You know, in my business, you know, he's closing it out.
Yeah. Let them go first.
Let him go first. Then you know.
Always.
Then you know what he wants. Yeah. Is that how you do? Is that how you negotiate your business?
Exactly.
Were you involved in, or they had
exactly? I let them go first.
You let them go first.
I don't want to negotiate against myself.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, who wants to negotiate against themselves? Sometimes you're shocked how much they want to pay.
You get
right. Okay.
Yeah. Let me think about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Speaking of that,
how about tomorrow? You think we're?
Yeah. What time we want to learn tomorrow? Maybe 4? Because is that too early? Because hello, Harold. Hello.
You there? Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah, what time do you want to learn tomorrow?
Yeah, I hear
4?
You hear me? Yeah,
I can hear you.
4:30. Does it 4:30 work?
Okay, 4:30. Yeah, because Shabbos is a little earlier tomorrow, right?
4:30. Yeah.
Okay, good. We'll see you tomorrow then.
Yeah, because I have to be someplace in the afternoon. So
okay.
Yeah, 4:30 then. I'll see you then.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Night.
Night.